So we need to kind of turn the tide. We need to have you guys not just having time together, but having quality time together that actually brings you closer and starts to diffuse tension.
Welcome to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. I'm your host, Maritza Barone. In this show, I will introduce you to ideas, concepts, and mindsets that will open your mind to a new world of well-being and personal life growth. Through eye-opening interviews, we elevate people in the world doing amazing things for humanity and share insights that will shift you to become the happiest, healthiest, kindest, and most compassionate version of you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Things You Can't Unhear. Now, if you, like many of us, are bunkered down in your homes right now during the period of social distancing and isolation, you may be facing a lot more time with your partner than usual. And if you're human, that can mean sharing a range of different emotions that you don't usually experience together. For some couples, that can bring you closer together, and others can actually tear you apart. And even the strongest couples are being tested right now. In China, where they're now coming out of long periods of isolation from the outside world, there's been a reported spike in couples filing for divorce, indicating that their time together seriously amplified friction. New words like Covid-divorces, Coronababies are being spread around the web, and it looks like it's make or break time for many of us. So I thought I'd get an expert in to help us before we all end up at each other. Isiah McKimmie is a couples and sex therapist and coach with a master's degree in relational psychotherapy and science of medicine in sexual health, as well as a postgraduate diploma in sexology. She's also the host of a podcast called Wholehearted and is committed to loving relationships, deep intimacy, and wholehearted sex. And she's here to give us some practical tips so we can use this time to strengthen our relationships rather than tear them apart.
All right, Isiah, thank you for being on Things You Can't Unhear. Welcome to the show.
Maritza, thank you so much.
In this very peculiar time that we're all living in, our relationships are being tested more than ever right now. And I've seen in some of your work that you've even noticed that there's been a massive spike in couples filing for divorce in China after being confined to a home together for so long. So I've invited you on the show because I think you'd be the perfect person to talk to us right now and give us some guidelines into how we can really maintain the relationships that we have and make sure they don't fall to pieces.
So I really want to let couples know who are in this situation that it's totally understandable right now. This is such a high pressure situation that, you are likely to put your relationship under a lot of stress as well. So if you are in that situation, firstly, don't worry, it's normal. And there are some things that you can do to manage it. For many couples, what I'm hearing that for a lot of couples is those things that were kind of sitting under the surface, the things that didn't feel kind of bad enough to take action around are starting to bubble up now that, two people are locked in a house together, trying to work, sometimes trying to manage children as well. So being aware of how people are communicating with each other is really important. And there are some other things that people can do as well, just to really make sure that their relationship firstly survives, but then thrives through this time and beyond, because the effects of what we're seeing with COVID-19 are going to be ongoing. And this is really an opportunity to set your relationship up to really ride everything that we have ahead of us. So the first thing that I would say to couples is to really set boundaries as much as you can on your time and your attention. So you are in the same house together, but know that you are still going to have a need for space, from each other and to create the physical distance in ways that you can. So that might mean working from separate rooms, wearing headphones if you need to, so you're not hearing everything that your partner is saying. I don't know if you've seen that. There's a meme kind of making its rounds at the moment. It's, day 7 of lockdown. Can you please blink more quietly?
I was just about to say that, people blinking too loudly. Tiny things will start to annoy us.
They really will. They really will. So, look, as much as you can, create that boundary, set those boundaries. If one of you needs to go and work in even the bathroom or the car or the shed, if you have that option, do that for a little while as well. And it's also okay to really set boundaries with your partner around your time and around your attention. So if they are constantly kind of asking you things or filling you in on what's going on, either with the news or in their workday, it's really okay to say to them, I just don't have the capacity to talk about this right now, or I'm really not in a space where I can hear that right now. I need some time to myself right now, or I really need to concentrate on this for the next hour or two. Can we just have an agreement that we're not going to interrupt each other until a certain time?
I think that definitely works with adults. With
children,
that's where we're finding the conflict because they just don't respond to things like that at all. And it's just, what we've found is helpful is one of us takes control or, spends the time with kids at each time. So one of us will say, okay, between 9 and 12, I'm managing the kids, and between 12 and 3, you're managing the kids. So I think that's been a great way for us in our home to get some work done as well.
Absolutely. And I think I love essentially part of what you're saying there is working as a team on this. Exactly. You're like a tag team. I think that's really important.
And that's just respecting each other's work as well, and what the tasks that we need to do to get paid and to get things done, both in the family and in our professional lives. So it is having that respect for each other and a respect for each other's roles that really is helpful, but it doesn't always help. And there's other pressures that come into it, and a lot of people right now are dealing with massive financial stress too, which I'm sure is just adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah, look, this is a really tough time financially for so many people, and it is going to increase your personal anxiety a whole lot more. So be really, really mindful of that when you're interacting with each other. To kind of, explain what happens in our bodies when we start to feel increased anxiety or increased financial pressure is our body essentially goes into a fight or flight reaction. And when we're in that kind of state, we're being kind of run by a different part of our brain than normal. We sometimes call it the lower brain or the survival brain. And this part of our brain is really all about keeping us alive. It's about fight and flight. When this part of the brain is running us, we have diminished capacities for communication, connection, empathy, logic, and forward planning. Have you ever tried to kind of reason with someone who's in a really kind of agitated state? It actually is almost impossible because they're not really able to take on our words, and what they're sharing is really based on their own emotion. So I think be really, really aware of this, that this is likely to be going on for both you and your partner. And when we're in this state, we're much more likely to be snappy with each other, to say things that we don't mean, and to be more easily triggered by what someone else is saying to us. So, that whole blinking thing, can you blink more quietly? When we're in a heightened state like that, we are going to be sensitive to the smaller things. So firstly, just have that awareness that this is probably what's going on for each other, and that it's really important to, as much as you can, try to calm that anxiety in order for you to have a conversation about it that's more effective, but also in order for you to be able to think more clearly about what you really need to do. So when we're making decisions from that fight or flight state, it's they're not necessarily the best decisions. It kind of comes with that really nervous energy, and we just think, oh my God, I've got to do this and I've got to do this. And we get halfway through something and then we've got to do that. If we can actually calm ourselves down, I know that we're not going to be able to be completely calm in this time, but if we can help switch our brain from being less in that fight or flight state, we're actually going to be able to deal with things better, and we're going to be able to have calmer conversations with a partner where you're not going to be triggering each other so much.
It's so true when you say, even when you think you're dealing with what's going on, you can so easily just snap at tiny little things. And I've seen myself do it, and I've just begun to self-correct. Sorry, I didn't mean that. I'm just a little bit stressed right now. I'm sure you can appreciate that. So even just tiny little things can set you off, and that's in all of us right now. But
yeah,
when it comes to sort of tools that we can implement, is routine really important in your eyes to implement into our daily life?
Look, as much as we can, and as challenging as I know it is for so many of us right now, I think it is really important that we try to keep some kind of structure and some kind of routine.
Every day's a Sunday otherwise, and you get yourself in a little bit of trouble there.
Yeah. And it, when you're working from home, you think, oh, okay, I won't get dressed today, or I won't do this, or, oh, is it okay to eat chocolate and ice cream for breakfast? All of these things that start to happen. But to kind of maintain that structure, we're in such an uncertain world at the moment. If we can start to bring ourselves back a little bit of certainty by, all right, I'm going to get up and eat breakfast at my regular time, and then I'm going to start work at 9 o'clock, or I'm going to do this at this time. I'm still going to do my exercise today. That just those little things are going to add in some extra support for us. So absolutely, as much as you can, try to keep your structure and your routine.
It's so funny. Just yesterday, I decided to wash and curl my hair and put some mascara on and get dressed out of activewear, and I felt a million times better, because for the last 2 weeks almost, I haven't done that. I've just been like, what's the point? We're just at home chilling out. And it just took an emotional toll on me. I felt sluggish. I felt Sunday afternoonish every day of the week.
I want to perhaps give a suggestion of a little thing that you can do to really kind of energize the body. And this is actually a little technique that we use. It calms the nervous system down. We use it in trauma support as well. So it can be a really helpful little 5-minute kind of exercise to do each day. And it's also going to help your emotions. So this is kind of going to sound a little bit funny, but it's actually a really the neuroscience around this really kind of backs it up. So what you do is literally just take 5 minutes to shake your body. So you just give everything in your body a really good shake. So you can do this in the office, you can do this, you can even do it with your kids, but just really shake everything out in the body. And that's going to help your nervous system calm down. It's going to help you get in touch with your body. It's going to kind of bring you out of your head, where a lot of us are probably doing a lot of overthinking at the moment, and it's just going to help to settle us somewhat. And that's also a really important first step, being able to just calm ourselves down a little bit and kind of connect to the body so we can feel the emotions that are going on for us. That helps us be mindful of them. One of the things that I often hear from people is, okay, I know that I'm afraid, or I know that I'm this, or I know that I'm that. What's the point of feeling it? There's actually an amazing thing that happens when we let ourselves feel emotions and really let ourselves become aware of them and not just try to push them away, is that one part of our brain releases a calming neurotransmitter that helps the other part of our brain feel calmer. So when we can just feel our emotion just for a minute and go, yeah, you know what, I am feeling really scared right now. Everything feels uncertain and I'm feeling really afraid. And just even to just take a deep breath into that, our brain is going to release those soothing neurochemicals that help us feel a little bit calmer. When we're really acknowledging our emotions is also when they're less likely to just kind of come out at someone in those, those really unhelpful ways. Like, I'm not upset. What are you talking about? But when we can acknowledge that we are feeling upset or afraid about something, the way that our emotions come out is a little bit different, and we tend not to project them onto someone else.
Really interesting. I think with what we're going through right now, we'd hope to make the most of this situation if we could within our relationships. But sexually, and I know you're a sex coach, so we need to bring up this amazing topic. Our sex life will definitely be affected with what's going on now. And whether we take that into a positive or a negative, we need to sort of look at how we can make the most of this situation for our sex life.
Yeah, so I think it's really understandable that people's sex lives are going to be impacted right now. We've been talking a lot about stress and anxiety in this call, and as our stress levels go up, our sexual desire levels often tend to go down. For some people, it's actually the opposite. So when they start to feel stress, one of their tools for dealing with it is to seek out sexual contact. But for other people, that desire will go down. And it's partly because of that fight or flight response, where our bodies aren't designed really to be in survival mode and reproduction mode at the same time. So I just want people to know that it is really understandable at this point if you suddenly experience a dramatic change in your sex drive either way. If you and your partner are aligned on that, if you both suddenly have an increase in your sex drive or a decrease, that's great. Nothing to worry about. Just kind of ride that out. But obviously, if you and your partner have kind of gone in different directions around this, it's likely that it can create some tension in your relationship, especially if this mismatch in desire levels was already there before we got to this crisis point. It's probably going to be amplified at this point. So really what I would say to any couples who are experiencing that is, firstly, know that it's normal. There isn't something wrong with you. There isn't something wrong with your partner because this is going on. This is a really normal reaction to have. And it's going to be really important in this time that you work on it together. Like anything, things become easier when we work on them as a team. So just like taking care of your kids, or managing your finances, if you can have a conversation about it and work together on it as a team, you're going to get much better results. And so to start by having a conversation about what is going on for each of you around it, and really try to understand each other's perspective on it. So this is not about trying to fix it or trying to get to an outcome or like an agreement right away. It's to really understand each other. So if your partner has a higher sex drive, to really understand, how is it that you end up feeling after we've been intimate together? And how do you feel when I turn down your advances, or when you think I'm not into it with you? Like, what is the impact that has on you? And likewise for someone who has the higher drive, to ask the partner, when I approach you for sex, what is it that happens for you? What's that experience like for you? How is it for you to say no to me? And often what couples find is a whole lot more understanding of emotions like one partner wanting connection. They actually generally both want connection. They just see different ways of getting there. But they start to then understand each other's perspectives, that perhaps one person is feeling guilty, perhaps one person's feeling rejected about what's going on. And with that understanding, they already start to build a closeness and emotional intimacy there. And then what I would say to couples is, don't necessarily put pressure on yourselves for sex or sexual intimacy right away, and especially in this time of crisis we're in, but really look at how you can build in other forms of physical intimacy that are actually going to be soothing and comfortable and enjoyable for both of you. So having, a really long hug, for example, swapping a massage with each other, asking your partner, what would feel good for you right now? How can we connect physically in a way that would feel good for you?
Being mindful of each other, it's key. These
Yeah.
you've just touched on some daily exercises and activities that we can do together as couples to keep the connection between us. Can you run us through some other tangible ideas? Because I think these are really helpful. Like, these are things that people have not, perhaps done before in their relationship. They're sort of just gone with emotions.
And I think there's probably a lot of couples finding that at the moment, like, oh my God, okay, we're in the house all day. We've got this time together, but we still aren't feeling closer. We're actually just, experiencing an increase in tension.
Exactly.
So
You're probably half the time feeling more separate because you're clashing, or you're snapping, or you're under pressure, or you're stressed.
Exactly. And what we tend to see is that there is this phenomenon, I suppose you would call it, called negative sentiment override, which is where we start to get into these negative kind of places, and then we're just constantly hearing everything our partner says as something negative, a criticism of us. They haven't done the right thing again. We haven't done the right thing for them again. And so you then kind of can't do the right thing for each other when you're in that place. So we need to kind of turn the tide on that negative sentiment override. We need to have you guys not just having time together, but having quality time together that actually brings you closer and starts to diffuse tension. So I really recommend, even in this time we're in, that couples just really carve out some time each day. And really, you can start with 10 minutes or 30 minutes if it's possible for you, where you really just sit down with each other and give each other your full attention. So this is not watching Netflix at the same time. This is not while you're cooking dinner or doing the dishes or anything like that. This is time where you guys just sit down together and give each other your attention, because in doing that, you're already going to feel a settling in the nervous system that's going to help you connect more easily and have different conversations as well. So as an example, in this 10 minutes, one of the things, I think one of my favorite little games that I often share with couples is called the appreciation game. And so it's, you just sit down together and you take it in turns of sharing something that you appreciate about the other person. It can be something they've done, one of their achievements, a quality that they have. And as we start to turn our mind to focus on the positive things about our partner, we start to find more of those as well. So you'll just have a couple of turns going back and forth saying, okay, something I appreciate about you is. The only thing your partner says in return when you share something that you appreciate about them is thank you. That way they don't deflect it or kind of turn it around or, make a snide kind of comment about it. It's just like, thank you. And then they share something they appreciate about you. You kind of go back and forward a couple of times around that.
That's really
And that
nice.
can just be a really lovely way of connecting in. Another little suggestion that I have for couples, and it's kind of a good place to start, particularly when you might be experiencing tension or challenge, is to go back to a time before you started feeling that tension. and to kind of ask your partner, okay, so tell me about when we first met. What were your first impressions of me? What did you first notice? What first attracted you to me? And that you share those things with each other as well, because that's usually a time filled with really happy and positive memories. And when I have couples do this together, unless they're in a really, really acute state of crisis, what we often see is that they end up laughing together and then starting to reminisce about some of those times, when things were more positive, and that starts to create a positive impact on their relationship now.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I think optimism and these nice little connection activities are so critical. Like just spending that quality time together and making that space for each other.
Yeah, look, this is going to be a make or break time for many relationships, but it doesn't need to be a break time for you. This can actually be a turning point where I think all of us in the world are suddenly realizing what's really important to us. And, we're realizing that it's the people we care about, it's our families, it's our connections with people that are really important. And so this can be the time where you and your partner really decide that, things are challenging right now, or things have been building up for a while. Or maybe, things have actually been pretty good, but that this is the point where you go, okay, we're really going to put some effort into this. We're going to make it better. We're going to see how good this can be. And again, it doesn't take, often it doesn't take huge dramatic changes. It takes little changes in connecting to each other better, being more mindful of the way you communicate. And there's some really clear and specific tools that make a big difference around that. And just having more understanding and empathy for each other that can really set you off in that positive direction.
Absolutely beautiful advice, and so timely with what we are going through right now and exactly what we needed to hear. So I hope that helps a lot of couples out there to, keep positive, stay optimistic, reduce the tension, and get the most out of this situation that we're all in.
And I will actually be running a group for couples over the next few weeks where they get one little exercise just like this every day that'll take about 15 minutes. They'll also have access to some interviews with other experts around finances, around communication, around managing their anxiety, to really support them through this time as well. So I can share the link for that for anyone who wants to join up. You can join up at any time, and it'll just take you through that program of really small things that you can do.
Everyone can access it via the show notes in this episode. I think that's a great option for many of us to be able to have and be a tangible action kit that we can use when we are under pressure. I'm Maritza Barone. Thank you for listening to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. I'd love to keep the conversation going. Let us know what you thought of this episode, and if something really profound came up for you that you want to share, let's talk about it. You can find me on Instagram at Things You Can't Unhear, or on my personal page at Maritza_Barone. And if someone you know will benefit from something that was said in this show, make sure you share it with them too. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and keep up to date with what's next. And if you can spare a few seconds, please rate and review the show on iTunes, just so other people can find us more easily and quickly. And as always, my friends, be happy, be healthy, be conscious, and be kind.